This is In Focus, the program that puts you right in the center of what's been happening in and around Barbados, the issues, the stories. I'm Ryan Jolt, and today we focus on the impasse between the NUPW and the government, which has led to industrial action taking place. Police are yet to verify the numbers who took part in today's national protest, but one thing is clear. Public sector employees heeded the call from the National Union of Public Workers, the NUPW, and the Barbados Workers Union, the BWU, to call out its membership, urging them to turn out for today's protest. The matter at hand that forced this position, a decision by the Barbados Investment and Development Corporation, the BIDC, to send some of its workers on early retirement at the age of 60. The unions have argued that this move has implications for other public sector workers. There had been earlier efforts to resolve the matter, with talks being held with the minister responsible for the BIDC, Industry Minister Don Valinis, intervening, but those talks too were unproductive.
I'm satisfied as Minister that there has not been any major disadvantage in that respect. All of these individuals who the board have determined shall be retired by September 30th have received almost 4 months' pay in lieu of notice, all vacation pay that has been accrued to them, and in some cases that would have reached a size $52,000. And those checks were issued 2 weeks ago, and as far as I've been advised, they've all cleared the bank, and those 10 members of staff have signed as accepting it. Come September 30th, it is expected that these individuals shall receive their gratuities in keeping the laws of Barbados. There again, there will be a considerable sum that will be paid to them come the end of September. And effective October, they should start to receive a pension in keeping with the Pensions Act and keeping with the plan that the BIDC has had in place over the years. Notwithstanding the pension plan of the BIDC, some of the individuals will receive a further pension because some of them had been employed elsewhere in the public sector prior to joining BIDC.
In his wrap-up press conference over the weekend at the end of the 36th annual CARICOM Heads of Government meeting held here in Barbados at the Hilton, Barbados, Prime Minister Frendel Stewart warned against the action, suggesting that it could do more harm than good. He also defended his silence on the matter, noting that he had not been asked to intervene in the impasse.
I've said over and over again, and I said it as recently as on the first day of May this year when I addressed the Barbados Workers Union's rally at Browns Beach, that I respect very highly the right of trade unions to represent their constituents with all the vigor at their command. I do not resile from that position. But that is not all I said. I also said that it was my firmly held conviction that the trade unions in Barbados are responsible organizations, and that if the stage is reached where the national interest becomes the central issue, the trade unions of Barbados have always been able to, or could always be counted on, to put the national interest first. Now, it is no secret that Barbados has been going through some fairly difficult economic times, not unlike every other country in the English-speaking Caribbean. That is why CARICOM itself had to put in place a commission on the economy, which is being headed by Barbados, because of all the difficulties through which our regional economies have been passing. And as recently as Thursday morning, when we held a dialogue on economic resilience, we heard that story repeated again. I do not believe, therefore, that putting Barbados in reverse gear by having a national strike is going to be the best way to promote the interests, the long-term interests, the medium-term interests, or even the short-term interests of the thousands of workers across Barbados. I think that wisdom prescribes and maturity demands that we try to exhaust all of the remedies at our disposal and aim to resolve our differences without resort to any mechanism that could result in a reversal of the gains which we have been making on the national economic front. You said you haven't heard from me on this. Of course, the matter has not been referred to me. The last I was aware of the matter was that the Minister of Industry, International Business and Small Business and Commerce, the Honorable Don Bellinis, met with the unions, and that was the last I have known of the matter. The matter has not been referred to me. My intervention has not been requested or invoked. When I spoke to the Minister of Labor on the matter, her intervention was not invoked. The intervention of the Chief Labor Officer was not invoked, according to what the Minister of Labor told me. So I do not know, there's no evidence available to me that all of our procedures, all of our accepted procedures have failed or have broken down, and that the only resort left for the union is to call a national strike. If the matter is referred to me, if it is thought that my intervention could avert the strike, or better still, if it is thought that my intervention can resolve the difficulties, I'm ready. But my intervention has not been requested.
Prime Minister Stewart, are you, with less than 48 hours to go, are you prepared to inject yourself without that request having been made?
It is not my habit to inject myself anywhere. I leave that for doctors and nurses to do to me. I don't inject myself anywhere. I think that after spending as much money as Barbados has spent on education and laying claim to all of the sophistication to which we've always laid claim, that there can be no compromise of our standards at this stage. We have standards, we have practices, we have traditions, And those traditions, those standards, those practices have worked for us over time. And I think that if we have standards and traditions and practices that have worked for us, we should continue to pin our faith in them. So I do not know that there is any obligation devolving on my shoulders, or any wisdom that should, or any brand of wisdom that should guide me to inject myself anywhere. That's not my approach to public administration. And I want that to be made very, very, very clear.
This morning's protest was to originally begin around 9 o'clock. Before moving off from the starting point in Queen's Park, those taking part in the action were addressed by the executive of various unions and also C2SAB, the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados.
Saying this morning, enough is enough, even as we recognize that there is contemplation of further retrenchment in the public sector. So we will be speaking some more to you along the walk, but I want you to be ever mindful. NCC, NHC, Customs, BIDC, wherever you are in a statutory board or in the public sector, this march is about you and is respect for you, not only about those gone home, but for those to come. So this is for you this morning. Do this not only for 13, you are doing this for yourself, for your future, and the future of your children. We'll talk some more.
A vagabond, I am not. Let me say that up front.
A red man, you certainly are.
Is a red man. But you have heard the McGuffies. The BSTU is a small union, but it's a union that punches above its weight, and we do that because we stand on principle in
everything that we do. We are here today because we are standing on principle. We are standing on principle against disrespect of workers. We are standing on principle against disrespect of unions. We are standing on principle against a disrespect for the industrial relations process. The 13 people that were forcibly retired are being discriminated against based on age. Their entitlements and rights are being abused, their constitutional and other rights in the law. And we are saying that cannot be allowed to happen. That precedent cannot be allowed to be set. Because when it starts at the statutory board level, it will move across to the wider civil service. And we must be aware of that. We must understand that. When we were met by the Minister of Finance, I think it was in November 2013, we were told originally that 3,000 civil servants would be sent home, 4,500 civil servants from the wider civil service and 1,500 from the statutory corporations. When the public announcement was made after, it was dramatically increased to 3,000 across the board. But we know that 3,000 more will go. This is what the IMF wants, and they're going to be going in a variety of different ways. We have to make sure that that must not happen. Each and every one of us are here today to make sure that that does not happen. We are here today to make sure that people understand that as workers you have constitutional rights to be represented by your agents, the unions of this country. And when workers unions demand a meeting in this country, they must be met by employers. You cannot have a meeting set for one day and you hand out letters, essentially dismissal letters, the day before. Every worker in Barbados should be here saying a resounding no to that. A resounding no. Let me hear y'all say no to that. No to that. Unions in Barbados must be respected. Workers' rights must be respected. We have a voice. We have a say. And for now, I'm going to stop. And let us do this. Let us do this responsibly. Let us show that workers in Barbados are disciplined and we know how to do what.
Yes, so that is as it should be. Let me say this morning that this is a clear demonstration of workers' power. Yes. Let me also say that in our society, we have either the power of the worker or the law. We are saying that there is a law which may be an unjust law. And in order to be able to deal with that, we have to use workers' power to address the law which is unjust. All over the world, we find that persons, Nelson Mandela, in the United States, the civil rights movement, addressed unjust laws. And hence, if that law that is said to allow the retirement is unjust, then we have to lobby for Parliament to change that law. Let me also say, though, that over the years we have built up a mechanism in this country for consultation which has allowed us to reach thus far. Let us understand that we must call for that mechanism to be oiled and to work. We must call and to recognize that we have our part to play. Because other than that, then we will have to use our power. And our power can have dire implications. And therefore, we say to all who are within our hearing, let us get back to the tenets of proper consultation in this matter. Whether BIDC's board had made a decision or not, there should have been that opportunity for that full consultation with NUPW. And hence, we are saying in the Congress that we must still have that opportunity on this, on all other matters. Finally, what I would say to you is that it is clear today from this crowd that this is a culmination of a feeling by workers of injustices that have gone on. Let me say the question of appointments in the public service is a clear issue, because that issue is one that affects every and any person who wants to do business in this country. Let me also say that the recent measures in the budget has very little for workers, if any. And therefore we are seeing a frustration level that is built up. And let this be a signal that the workers in Barbados do not intend to take it anymore. Forward ever, backward ever, let us go.
Lined up and exited Queen's Square. We saw them traveling around St. Michael's Road, Bridge Street, Wharf Road, King Street, Princess Alice Highway, University Road, Harbour Road, Prescott's Boulevard, doing a loop at the Elsie Payne roundabout, coming back down along Redlands Drive, onto Cheapside, across Chapel Street, onto Lower Broad Street, back across Bridge Street, onto Fairchild Street, along River Road, along Lower Cullen Rock, turning onto Culloden Road, and then onto Dalkeith Road, ending at the NUPW headquarters. At various stops along the road, union officials took time to update the public on the impasse, but it was when they approached the offices of the BIDC on Harbour Road that persons became a bit more vocal.
We are here and we want to indicate to you that this action is about respect. Yes. This action is about respect. There are many who will seek even at this moment to divide us. They will want it to go there that we are taking action for 13, where we refuse to take action for 3,000 or 4,000. But I want you to be reassured this morning that the action we are taking is because we recognize in the ways provided for by our protocols and policies. Workers of the IDC, workers of Shafet, wherever you are hearing our voices, we are saying enough is enough. The Barbados Workers Union has not yet called out the British Port, has not yet called out the Transport Board, has not yet called out the Water Authority, has not yet called out the private sector. But if it comes to that, we will see, because we will send a clear signal, enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Brothers and sisters, we are fighting the day for justice. Brothers and sisters, the BIDC is the straw that brought the cameras back. Nonsense, enough is enough. We are fighting for customs. We are fighting against the nonsense of the Barbados Revenue Authority. We are fighting for outstanding appointments. We are fighting the delay in responding to worker grievances. We are fighting for the lack of disrespect for labor, workers and trade union. Today is a historic day in the history of the union. We must understand, as I said, that there are many issues over the past 3 years. The manner in which the retrenchment was carried out, very inhumane. Heard the people in cattle and sent home. You sent home the drainage workers, and one day, without notice, you treat them like they are animals. You tell them to go and put out their tools. This is a scant disrespect for labor. We have to agitate against this. They say we are keeping nice, but today we are keeping more than nice. We are marching for justice, and it must stop. We will continue with this struggle. This is only a tip of the iceberg. We are united. The Barbados Workers Union, the NUPW, the Barbados Secondary Teachers Union. All of us are united. They thought that labor was stand divided. They are surprised that labor got close ranks on the common insult, the common issues. This insult must stop. The Barbados Workers is fighting against the process also the elected power and other companies who are refusing to consult. They believe they have to disrespect labor. They believe that only when it's contentious that you should only get a board. I'm saying to you though, with or without legislation, if you respect labor, they will sit down and talk with the trade unions and consult. This is something that we are fighting for. Justice for one, justice for all.
Enough is enough. 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 We're standing up, but only government can breach the protocols. Only government can breach the protocols. And UPW, we haven't breached anything. We were asking for consultation. We got none. We were getting set for a meeting to dismiss the workers before the meeting. That is a lack of respect for the workers' representatives. Enough is enough. The trade unions are under attack, and we are fighting back. We are fighting back today. We are fighting back today. Government, take note.
You cannot seek to discriminate on people against people on the basis of age. You cannot treat and speak in a contemptuous way that the minister and the prime minister spoke this weekend and not expect people to feel that that's salt in the wound. And we need to pause and recognize that this government is not going in the wrong direction, but it is treating people in an abominable and contemptuous way, and Barbados will not put up with it for much longer.
Ms. Watley, you've heard the Prime Minister say that no one has asked him to intervene, but with something of a great...
Prime Minister living in Alaska?
But what for you would have been the best course of action in a situation such as this?
The people are speaking. We should not be in this situation in the first place. We are only in this situation because the government has failed to treat the workers with respect in the same way that it fails to treat the private sector, households and everybody. This is a government that shows that they do not care about us. They do not care about the people.
We also heard from Mary Redmond of the BSTU and Caswell Franklin of the Unity Trade Union.
Well, the BSTU is a trade union, and as a trade union, we see ourselves as representing workers in this country, not just teachers. Teachers are workers too, and in representing teachers, we represent workers. We stand behind principles, the same principles that the other unions in this march are supporting. or in fact are marching against. We have been exposed to a situation where the BIDC is actively practicing age discrimination against its employees. It has shown gross disrespect and disregard for the rights, the entitlements of its employees. It has shown disrespect for the trade union that represents those employees. And it has shown gross disrespect for the industrial relations process in this country. We are saying no to all of those things. No to injustice, no to age discrimination, no to disrespect for trade unions, no to disregard for the trade union movement. The inhumane way in which this whole matter was handled makes us say enough is enough.
But the BSTU itself has never been immune from this sort of action against it.
No, we have not. As a matter of fact, we have suffered directly for a number of years now, especially since 2012. And as you might be aware, we are actively now engaging in a judicial review of the transfer of the teachers to and from the Alexandria School, an act in itself that was inhumane and punitive and lacked reasonableness and reason in itself.
Some of the BIDC workers are people who affiliated with my union. They have a right to be here.
Are you happy with the turnout thus far?
I was up front. I don't know who's behind looks, but from reports, I'm happy.
What next for you? Because I know you've been fighting hard for the customs workers. You've been fighting hard for the rest of
What do we want? What do we want? Respect. What do we want?
My workers.
What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? What?
As the march continued, In Focus pulled aside two major leaders of the unions represented today for a brief one-on-one. Phase one. Happy with the turnout thus far?
Turnout thus far is very satisfactory, yes.
What exactly are the issues for those persons in the Caribbean who are watching this? Is it just a strike? Industrial action? What is it exactly?
This is not just a strike. This is not just noise. There are those who would seek to have the idea go across that the unions are taking this action against a move to retire 13, and we have been constantly reaffirming that this is about more than sending home 13. The unions had never pushed a position that says we will not entertain layoffs, but wherever layoffs are being contemplated, what we have insisted on is what is established and provided for in our protocols, that there must be consultation. What we have this morning is a demonstration against the lack of respect. We have a board, the BIDC, which I refer to this situation as the straw. We have a board that without consultation just sent the union's notification to say this is what we are doing. We are retiring 13 people, even though the legislation does not provide for it. So what we have come out here to do this morning, there can be no doubt about it that the unions have consulted in the matter of the retrenchment last year. We've made ourselves available in the matter of NCC, in the matter of Transport Board, but wherever there was a breakdown that led to dissatisfaction, that breakdown was an account of failure to follow through with the established process for consultation. Today, it is not about 13, and our workers in the Caribbean, the wider Caribbean who are observing us, this is a threat that unions not only in Barbados, but in the region and worldwide are being confronted with. A move by capital, a move sadly by even our governments not to honor the commitments that they've made to us, not to honor and recognize the provisions of our protocols, but to push labor aside constantly. We are saying that workers of Barbados are responsible for the development that we've observed in this country today, and if there is no other message that we want to impart today is that workers must be respected, because the same workers who build up, if you're putting them in a position where they're constantly shoved and prodded upon, these are the same workers that will be forced into a 1937 position. And we don't want that.
This is phase one, but in this phase you haven't called out essential services like the port, transport and the like. As we gear up, what if nothing comes out of today? What then?
I think that the National Union of Public Workers, which is the union responsible for coordinating this action, would be that organization in the best position to communicate that information to you. But what I can indicate to you that at our meeting, our joint meeting yesterday, we have discussed the course of action, and the port, as you said, Transport Board, Water Authority are not out today, which means they are not out yet. And that's as much as I would say right now. Just like the private sector is not called out yet. In the private sector, we have a practice and an established protocol that we would write the BEC and we would send out the necessary notification. So there are reasons for us not calling out certain parts of our cohort this morning.
The union would have asked the BIDC board for a meeting to discuss the dismissal of 13 workers over the age of 60. The board decided to send home the workers, to give the workers the dismissal letters, and then told the union that we can come in and have discussions. We said no, you need to have discussions with us before you issue the letters to the workers. BIDC is contending that they did the right thing by sending home the workers, and they have no obligation to consult the union before they do so. So we said no, it cannot start like this in Barbados. We have always had a custom and practice in Barbados where departments would consult the union first before any action is taken, and this is a moving away from that custom and practice. So we are saying no today, we are saying no to the action taken by the board.
We have full solidarity in terms of the other unions in Barbados. I've seen Pedro from the the Barbados Union of Teachers. You have Marianne Redmond, Sister Redmond from the Barbados Secondary Teachers Union. You have Cito Sab on board, Cedric Murrow, he is here. You have the Barbados Workers Union, the General Secretary, Tony Moore. You also have the President. Full showing. As I said, we're in phase one. What if?
What we hope to happen does not happen. What then?
Well, we have phase 2 and phase 3 and phase 4. This is not the last of the union's protests against what was done to those workers. I want to make a point to you though, that although it was about the BIDC workers in this instance, this has been building and coming along this has been coming for quite a while. We would have had 3,000 persons going home last year. The NCC workers are still before the tribunal, and there are many outstanding cases by the union. We have tried wherever possible to make sure that we maintain an industrial relations climate in Barbados that is good for all, both the employer and employee. But at some time, we had to say, no, enough is enough. And this is really the straw that brought the camel's back.
I want to be devil's advocate. We heard over the weekend the Prime Minister saying that if it comes before him, it hasn't followed process, or suggested, or he intimated rather that the full process hasn't been exhausted. So we haven't gone the route of the Chief Labour Officer, Ministry of Labour, Minister of Labour, and then having the thoughts referred to him. And he was saying that action of this type, of this nature, could, set the country back or put it back in a reverse course. Do you share that view? And have you followed the process?
I have been trying to follow it. To be honest with you, I have not read every single newspaper or seen every single news clip, but I would respond to that and say that we would have had a meeting with the Minister Donville Innes, who is a Minister of Government. If we finish a meeting, if we finish a meeting with the Minister of Government, and those discussions were not successful, it is incumbent upon the minister to make sure that he informs his colleagues about what transpired at that meeting. The union has no obligation to involve any Minister of Labour or Prime Minister into discussion. It is merely a courtesy. It is merely a courtesy. I must also mention that the last time we had discussions relating to the NCC matter, the Minister of Labour would have called the union and asked us to have a meeting with the Prime Minister. So this is quite shocking that we have to call the Minister of Labour now or the Prime Minister to have a discussion. I think the Minister, Donville Innes, needs to make sure that he informs his colleagues about the discussions that we are having. That is our position.
Let me ask this. We see here just government workers that are unionized with both the BWU, the NUPW, the two larger unions on the island coming out and taking action today. A lot of inquiring minds want to know, without you spilling the beans, what can happen, is a possible next step that could be looked at.
Well, remember that we have a membership that is very diverse. So, for example, we could ask one of our brothers and sisters from the Sanitation Service Authority, who is here today, to stop to work to rule, or to go slow, or to stop work altogether. Those are options that we can exercise anytime. We are hoping, though, that a resolution is brought to this matter as soon as possible. That is what we want. We don't want to be out here protesting for the sake of protesting. We want those workers at BADC to be given back their jobs as soon as possible. That is what we want. If the Prime Minister decides after today that he wants to sit down and have a discussion with us, so be it. We will sit down and discuss. But our position is the same. Our position is the same. We need those letters withdrawn so that those workers can be back to work.
I'm Ryan Jones, and this has been